Very good morning, everyone, and thank you for being over here. A quick introduction about myself. I am Manish Gurnani, Chief Technology Officer at Ksolves India Limited. We are proud to be sponsors, of Apache Con, as well as it's a privilege to be a speaker over here today. To give a brief background about who we are, what we do. So Ksolves we are a 13-year-old company, essentially into software services as well as product development. We cater to 4 vertical divisions. Big data. In big data, we do anything on cloud, anything on open source. We do, we are probably the only company of our size to do code contributions to many of these source codes. For example, we committed to Kafka, Cassandra, NiFi, Ambari, to name a few. The second vertical that we work with is AI/ML. We have a center of excellence for AI. Anything on deep learning, anything on traditional machine learning, Gen AI, LLMOps, MLOps, everything we do. Third vertical that we have is about Salesforce, and we are a Salesforce Summit partner, again a topmost certification for Salesforce. And the last vertical that we have is about ERPs and digital transformation, where we do anything on let's say SAP, any open ERP, anything on modern web, mobile, all of that. We are a publicly listed company on the main stock boards of India, the NSE as well as BSE, and we have been there for almost 5.5 years today. Right. We also provide, why we have been working with open source for almost more than a decade today. We provide a complete 24/7 support also for open source technologies. So that includes, especially for any of our enterprise customers, private fork for their internal deployments, zero-day vulnerability assessments, any critical vulnerability fixes before that gets merged into the community version. All right, so that's a brief history about Ksolves. So today I'll be talking about one of our flagship products, the Data Flow Manager. It's built on top of open source Apache NiFi. So how this started was, we have been working with NiFi for almost 9 to 10 years today. We have done deployments of the vanilla NiFi to many of our enterprise customers, and they had some of them had really big clusters. What we felt was that there are certain, let's say, features which the vanilla NiFi was lacking, and I'll talk about those in detail, right? But essentially, we built in those features to bring that capability into DFM. So DFM works on top of open source vanilla NiFi and works like a complete end-to-end ETL platform. Okay, and like the punchline, it can help you save your ETL costs, development as well as deployment, by almost 75%. And we'll cover how does that do that. Okay, so again, very quick overview. NiFi is an ETL platform, right? And it does its job of ETL management very well. But like I said, when you talk about vanilla NiFi, there are certain enterprise features where it falls short. For example, we don't have a centralized access management, right? In case if you need to set up a NiFi cluster, it's almost manual, unless you have to write your own Ansible or Terraforms, right? And then imagine scaling that cluster to add more nodes. Again, you need a lot of DevOps work, which is again manual, needs to be done. Second is about your configurations, security. If you need to integrate with any of your, let's say, LDAP, SSO, right? Someone has to log into NiFi, into your ETL platform and do all of those configurations, right? So that person has to be a NiFi expert or an ETL expert to do that, right? Integration with your monitoring systems. Out of the box, it has only minimal, I would say, health checks. But what if you need more granular metrics for your alerting and monitoring? Which ETL flows are being used more, which ETL flows are, let's say your hotbeds, right? What is the, let's say, is this ETL showing any issue? So you again have to go into that cluster and then scroll through the logs and then identify those things. Traditionally, the Prometheus and Grafana will not be capturing those details. Okay, and then third is about, let's say you have your cluster there, right? You still need to develop your ETLs. You have to develop from scratch. Then once those ETLs are developed, your NiFi data flows are developed, then you need to do publishing of them or do data flows across environments from, let's say, from your development to UAT to production. Again, it takes significant amount of time for that deployment also. You need a good NiFi ops person, a good person who understands, with the experience to do all of that, deployment. Okay, that's where DFM helps to sort of, I would say, ease out all of these chinks. Okay, so how does DFM do that? So certain high level, I would say, features of DFM. First is scalability and clustering. So with DFM, you can launch your entire ETL cluster, the NiFi clusters, within few minutes. Everything is pre-configured in DFM. It provides you a nice UI where you can just sort of add your hosts and ask DM to launch a cluster. It will do that out of the box without any hiccups. Then in case you need to add more nodes, you need to maybe based on your how much is your flow being used, what is the load on that, you need to add new nodes, new NiFi nodes. Again, very simple, with just few clicks, you can extend your NiFi cluster. Security, out of the box, DFM provides you LDAP integration, SSO integration, Kerberos. Any clusters which are launched using DFM are automatically TLS and SSL enabled. You don't need to do anything for that. It has inbuilt mechanism for certificate generation. In case you have your own certificates, you can provide that also. But in any case, all the clusters launched via DFM will be completely secure. In terms of automation, we have, so let's say if you're looking to develop a ETL, DFM has a predefined inventory of almost 400 plus data flows. And these are like pre-tested, pre-validated data flows from our side. In case if you are looking, it allows you a search interface through which you can just look through that inventory and select the flow that you want to be deployed. So in a way, it saves your developers time. You don't need to start from scratch. Then deployment of those flows across environments, again, just few clicks within DFM. No need to have a NiFi admin log into those CI/CD your systems and do that manually. In terms of observability, like I said earlier, that we provide integration with your Datadog, Dynatrace, definitely Prometheus and Grafana, and that too, not only about just the basic health checks, but NiFi-specific metrics. So your process flow specific metrics at cluster level, at process group level. So you can look at individual ETL flow and see which one of them is, like I said, right, it's the odd bet. Okay, and because DFM is obviously built on top of NiFi, so you get the NiFi features inbuilt. So a robust ETL platform where you can build both batch as well as real-time streaming. And then NiFi already comes with predefined almost 400 plus connectors. So you can connect to any existing DBs, any data sources, IoT device, IoT, your other ecosystem, let's say Kafka, right? Okay. So in a nutshell, since DFM is built on top of NiFi, so NiFi remains the core engine, and DFM acts like a, I would say, an advanced smart control which supercharges NiFi and makes it enterprise ready. So again, a quick look at what do you get with DFM. Number one is because it's built on open source, so licensing costs are very low. Almost, compared to other ETL platforms, we have seen that it is 75% cheaper. Then we have also seen that because of DFM, one DFM engineer can do what, let's say, approximately 3 to 4 ops team, NiFi ops team would be doing. That all can be done by one DFM engineer. Okay, I mentioned that it provides you out-of-the-box enterprise-grade features, audit logging, role access management, your flow deployments, and I'll be having a demo. So I'll be showing all of these to you. One last line I would suggest, I'll just highlight on the last line that we provide complete 24/7 support of the entire DFM ecosystem. So you are in safe hands. We have been working with this technology for, like I said, almost a decade. We are committed to the source code of NiFi, so we know end to end how the system processes. Okay. So maybe a time for a live demo. So this is essentially the DFM, DFM portal. Think of it like a web application which has all these different features. What needs to be done when you are, let's say, configuring DFM? The first step is that you have to, there's a concept of what we call as roles and permissions in DFM. This governs what a user can do using DFM. So you have your roles, then you can create your own roles, and you can align these permissions to those roles. So maybe you will have, let's say, the developer will have a role only to, or permissions only to limit him to sort of review or the data flows in development environment. He can also do deployments of data flows in development environment. But for production, he will only have a role. He will only have a permission to review or the configuration, see the configuration of those data flows, of those ETLs. But he cannot do any deployments. Your NiFi ops team, on the other hand, will have both review as well as maybe deployments also, right? So this way you can configure your roles and permissions. This also governs which clusters will the users have access to. So maybe some of your clusters you may not allow access to certain roles, right? So you have your roles, you have your permissions. Once this is done, then the DFM provides an integration with your LDAP. It can be Windows AD, it can be any other LDAP. Once your LDAP is configured in DFM, it will pull in all the users from that from the DN or that group, whatever filters you have configured over here, into itself. So then next step that needs to be done is you have to map these roles to those users. So you have your roles, you have your LDAPs, users pulled in from LDAP, you match these two, you have your users configured. All right. Next step is to have your NiFi clusters into DFM. To do that, so DFM allows two ways to do that. One is you can launch a completely new cluster from within DFM. So you just need to add your hosts, provide details of your hosts, maybe your SSH keys, your IP addresses, and select which host you want to be added to a cluster. DFM will use that, provision those resources with NiFi with all certificates, and then bring them up as a cluster. It will also do the registry setup for you. Okay. The other option is if you already have a running NiFi cluster, be it on cloud, be it on premises, be it in containers, anywhere, right? All you need to do is you have to provide the credentials, access to those NiFi cluster into DFM, and your cluster will be onboarded into DFM. Either way, once the cluster is listed into DFM, you can now start handing off DFM to your ops team to do your ETL deployment as well as management. Okay, so once your cluster is onboarded, I have got, let's say, 3 clusters over here, and my user allows me, the role that is assigned to my user allows me access to these 3 clusters. There are 10 more clusters which are running. So just a quick view of how these permissions are governing my access within DFM. Okay. All right. Now let's say all of this is set up. My development team, maybe we need to develop some ETL, and I need to do that ETL deployment. So I have to do ETL development and then do the deployment of that ETL into my cluster. How does all of that work with DFM? So first, I need to log in to the target cluster where I want to deploy that ETL flow. Okay. Or let me take a step back. First, I need to do the development of the ETL flow. How do I do that? So I mentioned that we have a pre-packaged data flow inventory of almost 300 plus odd data flows, and this is getting expanded every day. I can search to this registry. It gives me summary of what this flow does, right? Let's say I'll be picking a very simple flow. Let's say I'm looking at a flow to so this is the flow, let's say I want to look at. So what it does is, this flow is just to sort of, let's say, move data from one directory to another directory. Okay, I just click on add to registry. I have to select a bucket. I select the generate bucket. I give a flow version, something predefined. I click on to save. My flow is now added into my registry. So that's it. My data flow, which I was looking to develop, is available inventory. I did not need to do any development. I just selected it and it is there in my registry now. Next, if I want to review that data flow, I always have that option, but let's say I'm okay with that. I want to deploy that data flow into my cluster now. How do I do that? So I go to process groups. I need to first log into my cluster. So let's say I'm logging, okay, I'm only logged in, but otherwise, this green button allows you to log into that cluster. I'm already logged into, let's say, UAT cluster. I want to do a deployment over there. The green bar indicates the health of the cluster. It is all green. That indicates that all the nodes in this cluster are up and running fine. Had there been, so this cluster I know has 3 nodes. Had one of those nodes been down, I would be seeing partially 1/3 of this bar turning into red. Okay, so at a glance itself, I know, my cluster health. All right, next I need to do a data flow deployment. So I created a flow, I checked into registry. Now I need to deploy the data flow into my cluster. So I go to process groups, I click on to deploy. Over here, I select my data bucket. I select the data flow which I just added to my registry. I select the version. And this also allows me to select, let's say right now it's the latest data flow that I added, but let's say if I've got multiple versions, I can select which of those versions I want to deploy. So in a way, you get easy version management also. You want to roll back to earlier version, you want to upgrade, very simplified. I click on to continue. Again, this is like a mini map of the NiFi canvas. So you can actually, when you're deploying a data flow, you know exactly where on the canvas it will land. So it's very useful if you need to go back and review it into your NiFi UI. Okay. The orange indicates the data process that I am trying to deploy. Green indicates the data flows which are already there in my cluster. And I can, like I said, right, I can drag and drop this orange anywhere onto this. And this will be deployed at exactly the same location in my NiFi UI also. Okay. All right, it has my NiFi as well as HUL pre-configured. I click on to continue. Over here, DFM also allows me to set up any parameter context, any configurations that is specific for that data flow. So I can update those configurations over here. These are pre-filled for me based on certain values. I click on continue. Okay, these are like I have an option of validating my data flow. So there are certain rules, and you can also add more rules as per your requirement. But these are usually some, you can say, pre-sanity checks to see that your ETL that you have developed is going to perform okay. So let's say maybe I just for testing, I'll check. Let's say I just select 2 rules, and let's see. I click on to validate. Yep, everything looks good. So it sort of gives me a confidence that yes, my flow is almost done correctly. I click on continue. DFM gives me a summary of what is going to happen, which flow is going to be deployed, which cluster, right, and also allows me to select the flow control. Flow control is essentially what I want to do once the flow is deployed in my cluster. Do I want to keep it running? Do I want to keep it stopped? Let's say for now I want to keep it started. So I select yes, and then click on to deploy. Now at this time, DFM will do the magic behind the scenes. It will use that flow. It will log into my registry. It will pull in that flow. It will deploy that data flow into my cluster. And once it is all done, it will sort of show me a confirmation also. Yeah, over here it is, right? I can sort of go to my NiFi cluster from over here. I'm already logged in over there. Let's go over there. Okay, let me refresh it. All right. Okay, over here, as you can see, right, this was the new data flow that just deployed. And I selected in my canvas to be deployed on the right side of the existing flow. So it is exactly at the same location also. And you can see that this is green indicate that this data flow is already running also because I selected that as a post-deployment step. So very simply, in a very few clicks, I was able to do a data flow complete end-to-end. I was able to select it from inventory. I was able to configure anything in that data flow. And then finally, I was able to deploy that also into my cluster. Okay, cool. So far, so good. Let's see what next. So this was a use case wherein I had to do a real-time data flow deployment. That means I want to do it right now. But there are cases wherein I want to do a deployment during off business hours. Maybe when my system is not under heavy use, right? Or maybe during a weekend. Again, it would have required a NiFi admin or a ETL admin to be available to execute that deployment. But with DFM, we have a feature what we call the scheduled deployment. Everything works same as the immediate deploy. The difference is that it allows you to select the time of deployment. So I'll just do a quick, maybe, just to show. Okay, I select a bucket, I select a flow, click on, I select the version, let's say I select version 2, click on continue. This is again the DFM, this is the canvas. I'll just select continue over here. So here I have the option to select the time of deployment. I can go over here, I can select, let's say I want to do it on a Sunday, let's say at midnight. I can say any time, but let's say I selected Sunday. Okay, and again, I want to keep it this, let's say the flow stopped. Okay, I click on continue. I have my validation. DFM displays me a summary. It shows me what time it will be deployed, what will is flow control after deployment, and I can click on to schedule. Now before I do that, right, there's again another configuration over here. So this is more like whenever we're doing a scheduled deployment, it may be that we wanted to have a second pair of eyes to glance at the deployment before it gets actually deployed into my production cluster, right? So what we call as a approval workflows. So DFM, again, it can be configured, just option in within DFM. But if that is configured, whenever you do a scheduled deployment, what DFM will do is it will send in an approval email to that approver. So that approver will then see who's trying to do what, which flow, which cluster at what time, and then he has an option to come and approve that deployment into DFM. The second way this can be used is this can be given to your again your maybe developers, because doing a deployment requires certain level of configuration, which maybe a developer will be, maybe a senior developer may be able to do better rather than getting that executed. So a senior developer can schedule that deployment, he can do that configuration, but the actual deployment will actually happen once, let's say, an ops person has approved that deployment. Okay. Again, like I said, this is all configurable within DFM. You have an option of doing these approvals, or you can just do a direct deployment also. Okay, once I've clicked on schedule, okay, because this version is already there, so it's asking me to maybe do a new version. All right. So once the deployment is scheduled, the mail has been sent, the approver now has the option to come and approve it into DFM. So he lands over deployment schedule page. Over here, he can see which deployments are being scheduled, what time are they going to be executed, who has scheduled the deployment, which flow, all of the details are available over here. And he has the option of either approving or rejecting that deployment. If in case if we want to do any edits to that deployment, he can go ahead and do that also. Let's say I've reviewed it all and I'm okay, right? I'll just go and click on to approve, click on to confirm. Once this is done, this deployment will now happen Sunday at midnight, the time that I have configured, without any further manual intervention. So very useful feature for ops team. They can pre-plan their work well in advance and have it all executed automatedly without any, without any ops person being available at that time. Okay. The next feature I'd like to talk about is activity history. So what this is essentially any action that has been taken via DFM is captured as an immutable audit log into DFM. Activity history displays all of those logs. So over here you can see who did what, at what time, which flow, all of that detail is available over here. Okay, and you can filter it by different options. You can filter it by clusters. You can filter it by, the data flow names. Okay. All right. Next, I'll quickly jump over to I just want to show this also, right? So DFM also has a feature besides. So let's say you are not able to find your data flow in the flow inventory. DFM also has a feature of AI-based generation of data flows. You can type in your prompt over here, and it will use the Gen AI to generate the data flow for you. And it has been optimized by us so that if you do it without using DFM, the results will be much more, I would say, much less accurate compared to doing via DFM, because this has internal prompt optimizations. Okay, we have also given certain predefined prompts. You can sort of just use them also to do that generation for you. Okay, all right. So I'll quickly shift over to dashboard. So this dashboard is what I said, which captures not just the health metrics but specific NiFi metrics also. Over here right now you are seeing a cluster level metrics. So these are like specific NiFi metrics: the number of processors, the number of flow files, the number of flow files queued, right? All of those data are being captured over here. This is at cluster level. You can select these metrics to be fetched at a process group level also. So there are two processes, two ETLs which are there right now in my cluster. I can select which of those I want to monitor, and now the metrics will be specific to that specific ETL. Okay, you can integrate this with your existing monitoring and alerting systems, Datadog, Dynatrace, whatever you may have, right? Okay. All right. I think that's about the demo. Let me quickly shift back to my presentation. Okay. All right. So nothing is complete without success story. We have a DFM deployment at multiple customer, multiple client locations, right? One of those clients is a very major billion-dollar shipping giant based out of US, right? They have been using DFM for quite some time. We have been working with them for almost 5+ years today, and DFM helped them save almost 1.3 million in cost. Okay, we are privileged to have them here amongst us today. So we have Gurpreet Singh as well as Kiana. So nothing better than hearing it from them, how DFM helped them. So I invite Kiana, please share how you have been using DFM and what is your experience. Thank you.
Hi everyone, so my name is Kiana Erickson and I'm a platform engineer, and my company has been using DFM for 6 months now, and we've actually adopted it into our flow. So let's start with how our company is using NiFi and the process of flows moving from development to production. So our developers start in dev and create flows, make enhancements to flows, and then test and promote up through lower environments. Then it goes through change management, where they have to request a flow to production. And then my team actually handles that off hours. We do it off hours because if anything goes wrong, limited business impact, but it also requires us to be available off hours. So that's where the major pain point comes in of we have to log in and do these promotes, and sometimes the developers aren't online to validate for us. It doesn't make it easy. Another pain point is when you're promoting through NiFi, you have version control, so you're able to switch, like I want version 2 now, but you don't necessarily know all the changes that are taking place. There could be extra parameter contexts that come in that aren't really referenced within the flow, or there could be a variable that your flow is using that you don't know that needs to be updated when you do that promote. And so that's where DFM really helps. We are currently in the early stages of adoption, so that means that we have a developer subset group that is testing this, and so we can continuously provide Ksolves with things that they want to see in this or things that we think would be very helpful. But now, instead of doing this very manual process, we're able to actually automate it. So how this looks now for us is developers can do their enhancements and development in the lower environments, and when they're ready, they can go into DFM and schedule stuff on their own. They have to go through an approval process. So we have an admin group that is able to approve or reject based on if they have a change number. So if a change has been approved through like ServiceNow or whatever change management you have. And then we can see what version they want to go to, what version they're on currently. And then we also have like a review process that our team goes through just to make sure they're not going to break anything, that they're not going to have 100 current tasks on a processor that's going to overwhelm the CPU and then everything's going to crash. So we can validate that, and once everything's validated and we approve it, then it's going to get deployed at that time. And one of the major benefits of this is we don't know the flows. We're not the application developers. We don't know what a parameter value needs to be, whether they're promoting to production and they have something that's environment specific, whether it's a Teams connector or an API call. So when they're going through, it's really nice because they can decide where they want the flow, exact placement, everything like that. But they can also select what parameter context they want. They can see the values in the parameter context and alter them. Controller service configurations, everything like that, they can do that when they're setting it up. And then we can validate that before we approve it. So that has been very, very helpful for us, and also just seeing, okay, there's this parameter context we're not even referencing. Why is it getting pulled in through the registry and deployed on this server? It gives us greater visibility and control that way, but we're also continuing to adopt it in a greater sense. So as I said, we have a subset of developers right now, and eventually as we continue using it and we see greater success, we're going to adopt it company-wide for our NiFi. So yeah, I highly recommend taking a look into this. I know there's a lot more fancy features that we haven't adopted yet, but based on just like the core of the tool, it's been very helpful for our company. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you for that, Kiana. So again, like I said, right, we have been working with them for almost 6 months on DFM, and it has turned out beautifully for us. In case if there's something that either of you see, you are using NiFi or you want to do that, you're doing that manual process, right? Do sort of link with us. Okay, so moving ahead, how can DFM be of more use to you? So one is, in case you are already using NiFi, you are already a NiFi user, right? So DFM can help you optimize your operations, and how it can do that, I just showed a few, right? One is automated cluster setups, right? Then you have your streamlined data flow deployments, your scheduled deployments, right? You get a centralized access management system, you get audit logs, right? And obviously, we, like I said, right, we provide complete 24/7 support of the entire ecosystem. Okay. In case you are using some other ETL platform, some other enterprise ETL, right? And why would DFM be useful to us in terms of the costing? Compared to any other ETL platform out there, DFM comes at a substantially lower cost. So there's a very lower total cost of ownership. Then because it's built on top of NiFi, so you get all the NiFi features, right? And last but not the least, let's say if you are looking to adopt a new ETL platform, right, and you are still searching for that, right? So maybe look at DFM, put that into your consideration, right? It provides you a nice, low code, no code environment for ETL development. There's flow inventory, there's AI generation data flows, right? We have, any cluster setup completely automated, right? Already integrated with your existing platforms, full monitoring and alerting capabilities, right? And like I said, right, this all comes with complete 24/7 support, so you are in safe hands.